Hello everybody, welcome back to the next episode of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. We had a variety of submissions as to what we should do next, but there were two people that both said we should check out the hat store next. So I've been flipping through this directory and I couldn't find an entry that is Clark and Son. And so I'm not sure where to go for that particular passage. Since we're stuck there were some folks that suggested we go to the crime scene. So that's probably also a very good next step. Let's instead go to the crime scene then. Let's see if I can find it this time. Alright, after some searching, under Gunsmith, Grant Arms Co. is right here. Because in the original passage it said that the victim was killed at the back of his office, in the alley at the back of his office. So it would be logical for us to head to his office first. So 5EC is where we're heading now.
By pre-arrangement, we meet Constable Beadle behind the Grant Arms Company in the alley parallel to Leonard Street. I noticed a strange lump up the alley. I knew right off that something was amiss. My instinct for the out of place, you might say. Hey, watch your step there! The cobbling hereabouts is in a bad way. Many a jag edge just made for tripping a man. We have strolled 30 feet or so from the base of a stairway that leads to the offices of Grant Arms to arrive at the junction of a T, formed with another alley that lead to Old Street. It was right here, and sad to say, it was not a lump at all. Now, the victim was lying on his back, the force of the bullet having thrown him backwards. The briefcase was lying right beside the body, waist high. The wallet was lying a few feet away. The victim's overcoat was thrown open, and his pocket watch was missing. But part of the chain was still attached to the vest. He was quite dead, but there was still some warmth in his bare hands, so I couldn't have missed the blighter by much. Now, I figured the perpetrator must have hid in that shed just up the second alley. When the victim approached, he jumped out and fired point blank. As you can see, it's but 5 feet from the shed to where the body lay. We thank Constable Beadle for his time and trouble. He goes back on patrol, but we linger a moment longer at the scene. From the shed, Wiggins calls to us. Seems both Scotland Yard and our perpetrator have been quite careless. His open palms reveal the remains of a cigarette. On it are letters B and H in gold leaf. The tip end is pinched evenly all around. Beaming, Wiggins suggests that we adjourn to the offices of the Grant Arms Company to interview Allen's private secretary. Our unorthodox means of entry via the back stairway startles a young man we meet at the corridor. Fair-haired and pleasant-featured, he turns out to be William Linehart. After introductions are made and we are seated in William's office, Wiggins asks him a question that has been nagging at all of us since the beginning. What was Mr. Allen doing in the alley? Oh, any time he worked after hours, which was often, he would leave by the back way. It was a short walk to Old Street, where the traffic was heavier and a cab more likely to be hailed. So anyone who had a passing knowledge of Mr. Allen's habits, company employees, or even business acquaintances would certainly have been aware of that practice? Yes, I would say so. That evening, Mr. Allen was scheduled to meet with a Captain Egan at 8:30. Can you tell us who Captain Egan is? He is the ordnance officer in charge of purchasing for the Admiralty. Do you know what the meeting was about? He and Mr. Allen met often to discuss the special project undertaken for the Admiralty some months ago, but I was unaware of that particular meeting. Mr. Allen regularly delivered progress reports, but always during the day, and I always made the appointments. I remembered that Mr. Allen had asked me to put the S10A folder into his briefcase. It surprised me because I was not aware of an appointment with Captain Egan. Could you tell us about this special project? It is very secret, but I suppose I can say that it involves the development of a new type of naval gun. Were there problems with the project? None that I am aware of. Mr. Allen was very concerned about security, though. While we do sell arms to foreign powers, there are certain weapons that are reserved exclusively for our very own government. Special Project 10A was such a one. Was Mr. Allen's concern over security based on a specific incident, or centered on a specific person? The existence of the project was common knowledge, so I'm sure be expected a certain amount of, spying. He called on Lord Raglan to discuss the matter after several strange people were seen hanging around the Deverell Street plant. Why would the plant be under surveillance? All the technical data, blueprints, formulas, that type of things are housed there. Our offices here are entirely administrative. Mr. Allen's brother believes that he was having an affair at the time of his death. Realizing that this is a delicate matter, would you know who the lady might have been? No, I don't. Over the years, I have always known about Mr. Allen's peccadillos, but only in the most general way. We would be working, and something would trigger a cryptic remark that obviously had nothing to do with his personal life. For example, just after the International Arms Fair opened, he received a scented letter on pink stationery. Later that day, he was dictating a memo to Lord Raglan when he stopped and picked it up. He took a big whiff of it and said aloud, "Women often marry for a title, but they won't necessarily fall in love for one." Then he laughed and went on with the memo. "You are now secretary of the new president, Mr. Marlowe?" Yes, he was Mr. Allen's hand-picked successor, which perfectly illustrates the kind of man Mr. Allen was. There was no love lost between them, and yet, recognizing Marlowe's outstanding business acumen, he named him as his heir, so to speak. Thank you, Mr. Lionheart. You've been very helpful.
All right, I think that was rather helpful. We learned more details about the location of Courtney Allen's death. There was also a recurring clue, which is this B&H cigarette. Remember, we saw it at Lord Raglan's place. He was smoking one of these, and it was also found at the crime scene. So very suspicious now, Lord Raglan and this B&H cigarette. I think our next stop ought to be this B&H store, because this is the second time that this has come up. We also learned a little bit more about a possible affair, because Lady X potentially sent a pink letter to Courtney Allen. So without further ado, let's head to B&H. It should be under tobacconist, and lo and behold, Benson and Hedges, 16 NW.
16 Northwest. A salesman identifies the cigarette end as that of a Benson and Hedges Imperial. Ah, it is quite an expensive blend of Turkish and Virginia tobaccos. Very strong, yet very smooth. It's not a cigarette for the casual smoker, but rather for a connoisseur. Imperials are made to order, are they not? Oh, but of course. The Imperial is a relatively new brand, and the client list is very small and exclusive. May we see that list? The salesman reaches under the counter and pulls out a small ledger. The list has the following 12 names.
Well, this is very suspicious. We have a number of familiar names. So we know Lord Henry Raglan is definitely one of the customers. We also know Emile Zobar, he's that French military person. He was mentioned by Captain Egan as one of the competing, countries after that naval gun technology. We also know von Schulenburg. That's not sure which country, but that's also one of the reps from another country. And Richard Camp, the person who is suspected of giving away information to other embassies. I think we have two highly suspicious persons, Emile Zobar and von Schulenburg, and then Richard Kemp potentially working in conjunction with one of them. That would be our 2 clues for today. I think there are a couple of obvious next steps, including going to the plant. So that's a lead that we never closed off. Potentially talking to Richard Kemp, Emile Zobar potentially as well, and von Schulenburg. These 3 people all purchase Benson and Hedges cigarettes, and they're on that customer list. So I think that's sort of our strongest lead right now, which is the fact that the cigarette was found in the crime scene. So same drill, let me know in the comments as to where you think we should go next. Once again, our high potential leads are the plant, Richard Kemp, Emile Zobar, von Schulenburg, and then we also have some sort of less probability leads, including just digging a little bit more to see who Lady X is, but we don't really have any like direction to head towards, as in I don't know where we would go to find out more about that. So that's sort of a little bit of a dead end as of now. Also, somebody mentioned from the newspapers, Hitford Cycle 1 said we could potentially think about this earring that was lost on March 8th, which is the day of the murder. It's a teardrop emerald circled by diamonds, and there would be a £10 reward if we find it. Now, not sure how this fits into the mystery right now, but I just want to point out that yes, there could potentially be clues in newspapers, and this person pointed out this interesting article in it. Before I end this video, I just want to give everybody a heads up that I will be heading to a wedding starting next week. So I'll be traveling, and I won't be able to do any videos for about a week or 2. So once I come back though, I do plan to finish Freedom and wrap everything up. So just to let you guys know now, I'm not giving up the channel or anything. I'll just be absent for a little while because of this wedding. I hope everybody enjoyed this video, and I shall see you in my next video.